Okay, good morning. This is Spencer Shaw, Brush Turkey Enterprises from Maleny, Southeast Queensland. Only got 7 minutes, so I'm going to crank through it. We have wholesale nursery, we have a retail nursery, we have ecological restoration, bush regeneration, business, consultancy, and education. A lot to cover in such a short time frame. But what I'm going to do is give you a quick article, run over an article I've written about Myrtle Rust last year, and where I think we need to be, where we personally as nurserymen can be working and helping with Myrtle Rust and the survival of our amazing Myrtaceae species. So we've just passed the 10th anniversary. I'm going to read this if you don't mind, just to try and keep me on track and keep within that time frame. Next year, we've just passed that 10th year anniversary of Myrtle Rust being brought into Australia. And note that I say brought into Australia, as the terminology usually used is arrived or was first detected. The latter could be taken as inferring that Myrtle Rust arrived in Australia all by itself. This is clearly not the case. Myrtle Rust was brought into the country as a result of the global trade network, and we brought it in here. We need to be doing a lot to help solve the problem and prevent the next one, perhaps. So just how are we going to preserve the diversity of Myrtaceae in Australia? I can only speak from our personal experiences of observing the life cycles and propagation of many of our local rainforest Myrtaceae in Southeast Queensland, but I think we're onto something. And that is that preserving species that are threatened by Myrtle Rust can best be tackled at a grassroots level, pardon the pun, shrub, tree level, through the work of nurseries identifying and propagating from Myrtle Rust resistant plants. It sounds really obvious. Back in 2011, when Myrtle Rust arrived in Southeast Queensland, you could have been forgiven for thinking that just going near a nursery was going to be dangerous to your own health. Sure, nurseries could potentially speed the spread of Myrtle Rust due to the interstate plant transport network. But once it was brought into and established in New South Wales, it was only a matter of time before zillions of microscopic spores started blowing across the rest of Australia, including Southeast Queensland and on from there. To try and stem the tide, biosecurity then quarantined a few nurseries up here on the Sunshine Coast, but the horse was well and truly bolted. Overnight, the Myrtle name was tarnished, and nurseries just bulldozed all their Myrtle stock. It was more cost effective to throw it all away than to be shut down for that prolonged period of time and be having to deal with anything that had the name Myrtle in it or was from the Myrtaceae family. To try and stem overnight, for those of us who persisted with growing Myrtaceae, fungicide regimes became compulsory, something we've never done before and don't want to be doing too much at all in the future. And I would argue that the use of fungicides, the systemic fungicides, just merely masks the problem and could make the problem worse in the future as we develop resistant strains of Myrtle Rust. What I'm trying to get to in a albeit rather circuitous way is that nurseries were perceived as a problem, when in fact I believe that nurseries and horticulturalists, native ones in particular, have the tools to help assist in preserving the Myrtaceae species that are under threat. Our rainforest Myrtaceae have been significantly affected in our local area. These include species such as Gossia enifloia, Gossia hillii, Gossia punctata, Gossia acminoides, Gossia bidwillii. Don't really want to be a Gossia deer. Landwebbia species Blackall range, don't want to be one of them either. Rhodamnia rubescens, obviously that's one struggling everywhere. Rhodamnia dumicolia, Rhodamnia acuminata, Bacchausia leptopedala, Bacchausia citriodora, Rhodomyrtus sidioides, Decaspermum humil, Archirhodomyrtus speculari. These species have all been affected to varying degrees, with populations in individuals within the species showing varying degrees of susceptibility. I believe the only real hope for us to assist in the preservation of threatened Myrtaceae species is to assist those individuals and populations within a species that are demonstrating resistance and resilience. We, nurseries, horticulturalists, nature lovers in general, can assist these species by actively searching for, identifying, and then propagating and cultivating from those individuals. This cultivation, whether it be gardens, farms, or revegetation projects, will then assist the survival and spread of their resistant and resilient genes back through the bush again, hopefully. Species that we've personally had success with so far include Decaspermum dumil and Lemuria species Blackall range, both of which we have selected and propagated from resistant individuals, or semi-resistant individuals might be a better way of putting it. An observation we've made is that if plants have been affected by myrtle rust but managed to produce seed, then a good percentage, sort of varies anywhere between 25, 50, maybe up to 75% of the resulting seedlings appear to be more resistant than their known parent. I don't know why that is, but that's an observation I've certainly made. The real progress in fighting myrtle rust is taking place out in the bush as evolutionary processes select those individuals that are myrtle rust resistant to survive and reproduce. The best that we can do for now is to get behind nurseries and our horticulturalists and bushwalkers, people who are out spotting these plants, and find these resistant plants that are out there and help be the front line in preserving our vulnerable Myrtaceae species. For 10 years, we've seen major impacts to our rainforest ecosystems. I don't think this can be understated, it can be overstated at all, should I say, through the loss of flowering, not just the damage to the plants for their individual sake, but the flowering and fruiting and the flow-ons to the fauna that have depended on those flowering and fruitings in the past. Let's hope we can improve the situation somewhat in the next 10 years. I'm doing really well there. I've got a few seconds to spare. I'm just going to quickly show you an example of myrtle rust resistance within a single species. What I've got here is Syzygium cormiflorum, not a local one, obviously. Somebody's brought them in to propagate. We've got a seedling that's not looking very resistant and a seedling that is looking very resistant. Thanks for your time. Brush Turkey Enterprises. I'm Spencer Shaw. My wife's Karen Shaw. We're the co-founders of Brush Turkey Enterprises, www.brushturkey.com.au. Check out our blogs. Keep up the great work, everybody. Thank you.